Am I the idiot for not telling my wife to tone down her dancing at our wedding? My wife, 29F, and I, 29M, got married last weekend. We've been together since first year of uni and got married on the 10-year anniversary of the day I asked her to be my girlfriend. We've grown up together, got through thick and thin, and I know there is no one else I want to spend my life with. For context, my wife is half Spanish and we incorporated a lot of Spanish traditions into our wedding. It also meant that, with all her family there, the reception turned into quite the party. I was pretty tired after dancing for a while, so I went to sit and talk with my family whilst my wife kept dancing with her cousins and friends. After a bit of chatting, my mum and aunt essentially told me that they weren't too pleased with my wife's dancing to songs like Low and Sexy Back, saying that her slut drops and wiggling her bottom like that weren't appropriate on her wedding day and were disrespectful to me. To be honest, I didn't see anything wrong with the way she was dancing. It was nothing more than I think any person would dance to songs like that in the club when they were having fun and had a couple drinks, and I told them as such. They said I should tell her to tone it down, but she was having fun with her friends and I didn't see anything gratuitous about it. Nor was she super drunk, so I told her it wasn't my place. We ended up wrapping up the party soon afterwards anyway. The morning after, we had breakfast with my family and my aunt mentioned to my wife that she was pleased that I eventually got her to tone down the fiesta. My wife asked what she meant by that and my mum told her about the conversation from last night. My wife has told me about this. I was talking to my dad and uncle at the time and didn't hear. My wife apologized but was then very quiet for the rest of the day, and when we left the hotel she was very upset with me, saying I should have told her that she had offended my family and that she was humiliated, that I hadn't told her anything about it on the night, like my aunt had assumed. I was sorry that she was humiliated, but I was not sorry that I hadn't told her to tone it down, because in my opinion she didn't do anything wrong. She still thinks I should have just told her because now she won't have a good relationship with her in-laws. She doesn't have a good one with her parents. I'm mad at my mum and aunt and want them to apologize to us, but she refuses to bring it up with them and wants to apologize again to them when they come over this weekend. I want to stand up for her because I think they're being incredibly rude, but she doesn't want that, she just wants to mend bridges. She's still upset with me because I don't see it her way and because I'm not sorry that I didn't tell her. Comment 1. Right. Maybe it's because I'm American, but the moment that Aunt said that fiesta line, I was like, oh, yeah, that tracks because they're British, based on OP's spellings, and we're offended she was dancing in a way that suggests she's alive and feels emotions. Comment 2. The aunt is a xenophobic bigot and she knew exactly what she was doing. I was born and raised in a family of passive-aggressive British women, so I fully believe she would have said this purposefully to be rude. Update. Hi all, bit shocked at the level of response to my post. Thanks for all the comments, I did read as many as I could. I talked to my wife. I apologized for not telling her what my aunt had said, and that it was only because I believed what my aunt had said had no merit, and that she as my wife was always going to be my priority rather than placating them. She accepted my apology. She still was wary to try and confront them about it though, and I ended up saying something that I read in a comment that broke my heart. That my wife was probably more than anything grieving the loss of the new family she thought she was going to have. And she immediately burst into tears. So that commenter was spot on. Her parents went through a very bitter divorce that damaged their relationship with their children permanently. So it was a difficult conversation, but we came to the conclusion that we had to confront my mum and aunt in the hope of salvaging any relationship, though my wife wanted me to do it on our behalf. Fair. I called my aunt and basically let her have it. She wasn't apologetic at all and said some pretty nasty things that I won't repeat, so that was an immediate end to that relationship. I then called my mum to do the same, and she was very ashamed. For context, my aunt is her older sister, and we invited her because my mum and my wife wanted her there. My aunt had never met my wife, but my wife really wanted to meet my whole family. My mum grew up in a very conservative Christian household, and although she stopped believing, my aunt didn't, so there's been some distance and disappointment. My mum apologized to me and said she had been missing her sister and had let herself get brought back into old habits. She wants the opportunity to make it up to my wife, but my wife and I have agreed on low contact for now, and we'll see how we go. My wife did say okay to flowers and a letter that my mom wanted to send, but I told my mom pretty sternly not to expect anything from my wife, which she took pretty well. Most importantly, my wife now seems to be a lot happier. I don't know if our relationship with my mom will be as trusting ever again, but it at least will be one with clear boundaries. Part of the reason for the delayed update is that, amidst all this, my wife realized she'd missed her period, and lo and behold, she's pregnant. Cue panic because she drank at our wedding and this is totally unplanned, but otherwise we're ecstatic. We haven't told anyone other than her mother and sister, and now we're going to have to really think about how this is going to work with my mom, but I'm now feeling way more confident that we'll be able to figure it out together. As long as my wife is happy, I don't care. Comment 1. Speaking of OP being a great dad, he can calm down about wife having drank at the wedding. I had a similar freak out. Husband and I had a weekend getaway right before we found out, and my OBGYN told me that my weekend of partying was highly unlikely to have harmed my little one that early in my pregnancy. Thankfully she was right and my 8 pounds baby boy is now a healthy 20 years old. Comment 2. I was 20 when I found out I was pregnant with my son. Me and my now ex were very social back then, we partied a lot. It was our 1-year anniversary, he got us a place as a present, we threw a major housewarming weekend party. Found out a month after moving in and partying every weekend that I was pregnant. Was so scared he would come out with problems. Had a high-risk pregnancy, turns out he was double-wrapped, had a double placenta, and he was 8 pounds 3 ounces. He just turned 20 and is studying to be a social worker. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for telling my wife to cut her losses and focus on our family? My wife and I have 4 kids. She has Noah, 12, and Ellie, 9, from a previous relationship, and we have Rose, 4, and Jackson, 9 months, together. A couple things important to mention is that my wife has another kid, Ava, 14, also with her ex, that lives with her sister, and that her ex moved back to his home country after the divorce and has nothing to do with the kids. Shortly after the divorce, 4 years ago, Ava and my wife got into an argument. Ava blamed her mom for her dad leaving and it got pretty heated. In the heat of the moment, my wife destroyed what could be described as Ava's comfort item and told Ava to get the fuck out of her house. Ava ran out of the house, the police and CPS got involved, and Ava was put in foster care, then went to live with my wife's sister once she got a big enough place. My wife was ordered to go to anger management, therapy, and parenting classes. Ava was brought back to us 3 times, but every time she was brought back she'd run away or raise hell until she got to stay with her aunt. My wife's sister got full custody because of that. My wife has been trying to fix her relationship with Ava since the incident. She'd beg her sister to let her visit, sent toys to her sister's apartment, sent letters, called and texted repeatedly, but Ava never answered. They moved out of state 2 years ago, and just before the move, Ava reached out to my wife just to tell her that she wants nothing to do with her and to leave her alone. My wife honored her request until recently when she was going to be in their city for work. She reached out to both her sister and Ava but got no response. She went to Ava's school to try to speak with her, which turned into a big issue, and Ava and my wife's sister ended up getting a restraining order on my wife preventing her from contacting them or going near them. She's been so upset since then, which is understandable. Ava and her aunt should have been more understanding towards my wife. I couldn't see her like that, so I told her it's time to cut her losses and focus on her family now. She listened to my advice, but her family, who have been pressuring her to try to fix the relationship, is calling her a bad mom and accusing her of abandoning Ava. They got a fucking restraining order, so I don't know what they expect her to do, but now she's upset over it again, so I wanted to know if I was the asshole for my advice. Comment 1. My mom spent 25 years working in criminal court. The judges would rotate through DCFS court. BC, it mentally draining. So many people in DCFS court state the thing they hate the most is giving the children back to the parent. BC, some stupid checklist was done knowing full well that the kids would be back in the court system soon. Yes, they all said DCFS court was more mentally draining than working with murder cases all day. Comment 2. 100% this. Not American, but in the industry, and the worst part is seeing kids With awful parents who do just the bare minimum to not lose parental rights but never stop being abusive, so the poor kid is in a constant cycle of reunion foster care. It's especially tragic when they get places with a really loving family who clearly has a bond and want to adopt them only for the bio parent to constantly fuck it up and take away that chance at a stable and loving upbringing. Thanks for watching Emma's Story Central. If you enjoyed today's video, please consider subscribing for daily uploads. It really helps the channel grow and allows me to make better content. You can also check out yesterday's video by clicking on the screen. Thanks for watching and have a great day.